last time on Recorder on the Wall, we watched as the Lost Legends of Redwall Act 2 came to an end, and yet Scumsnow was not dead, despite the fact that you got into this chase fight with Liam or Sophia, depending on which character you chose. Now the battle turns as either Liam or Sophia must get their spouse to healer stoats, or lose them forever.
This is Recorder on the Wall, right? I'm on the right show.
I thought so.
Recorder on the Wall Z.
Z?
Wait, Pete, are we doing a rebrand here? What's going on?
No.
What happened to the original Recorder on the Wall?
Oh, it's fine.
Wait. Does this mean we're going to have to start doing Recorder on the Wall abridged?
Oh, no.
And then GT?
No, there will be no GT.
Fine.
There won't even be a Boo Saga because that one stunk. Yeah, nerds, I said it. But welcome back, folks, to Recorder on the Wall. I'm Pete, and you heard Matthias and Braden come in.
Hello.
So we totally played and not watched a video of Act 3, at least the first couple of sections of Act 3 of Lost Legends of Redwall. Right, guys?
I have deadlines to meet, so I actually played.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched a video of it.
I was avoiding things by playing this game.
That's what games are for, right? To avoid
Totally.
life.
Yeah.
Escapism,
And just look at all the hours I put into Tears of the Kingdom here. When we left off, if you unless you're still cackling at my terrible attempt at playing the Dragon Ball Z narrator, pretty much that. Your player character is getting their intended to a third-party healer stoats, which I want to talk about because this is a whole thing. And we're going to deal with the sections of the game that pretty much deal with that healer stoats family and their not quite Woodship house. I know it's not Woodship, but my brain ran there definitely.
It's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, if you haven't listened to our other one on the Soma game in quite a while, as a refresher, this game is taking place some 2 seasons before the original book, and is primarily focused on a settlement not even normally mentioned in the books because it was invented for the games, and I'm all for that, and which is southwest of Redwall. It's towards the coast, is what we gathered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely southern of Salmandastrong. So, and it's more or less part of Mossflower, but it's definitely introducing new things that we didn't expect into the lore, which is, again, completely fine. I am all more for world building outside of the 2 main settlements. So, and as a reminder back to Act 1, your player character, and you can either pick the dude or the gal, is being inducted into the Scouts, which is essentially like Coast Guard for this settlement. And literally the night you get your induction is when Clooney's Splinter Force invades.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we know these troops belong to Clooney. We don't ever see Clooney beyond the occasional silhouette or like from behind in art. And he is maybe name dropped only once or twice because the big bad of the Splinter Force he has sent out is Scumsnout, a Whereat.
With the powers of a Komodo dragon.
Yeah, another thing to talk about. So, as part of the escape in Act 1, your spouse, well, not spouse, but intended spouse, gets bitten. And from everything I've seen here, it doesn't really matter which character you play as. The other one's going to, get bacterial poisoned, like a Komodo dragon, and start to, have a bad time. So
it's almost as if, a lack of oral hygiene is bad.
Yeah, is Scumsnout not seeing the Vermin HR sponsored dentist? Or did he not pay for the dental plan?
He saw the 10th dentist.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm. So the other plot thread that intersects with the original book here, instead of, from freaking Clooney, is Chief Thief is a character. He is mentioned in the recap prologue for Act 3. And he is looking for the blue key, aka something called the Tanagram. And when we're shown it, it looks like it's a bunch of fragments of metal that presumably were fitting together at some point.
How very Allspark.
There's the part of me that when they briefly showed this thing, it's like, that looks like a puzzle I want to solve.
That
Give
would
the
track
puzzle.
given the name.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, scum snout bites your intended. They are slowly dying from a bacterial infection. You are trying to get them help. And the nearest settlement with facilities is this neutral party of small family of stoats in a ship that is run aground. Called, I should have the name here.
The
Winsome Wraith.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. My brain ran to the Wood ship. Like, is this Wood ship? Because from all the way back in Mossflower? Because that would have been a cool. No, it's something independent. It's a big ship.
Yeah.
It's a very big ship, especially because they're only supposed to be like a couple of people or stoats living there.
Yep. And we will talk about that stoat family because that is a huge discussion to have. But this is a ship clearly, like, this is a massive cargo ship. Like, if there's one thing you can seek about most of the ships we've seen in series, they tend to be raiding vessels, so which under rules of normal piracy are quick small ones instead of big cargo ships. This is huge.
Yeah. Half of them are like Viking ships, basically.
I guess the equivalent would be like a modern Navy destroyer or cruiser versus an aircraft carrier.
Mm-hmm.
This is an aircraft carrier, so to speak.
I'm imagining they have railguns somewhere.
And then now the part of my brain that's going towards the MCU with those giant helicarriers.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh God.
So, yeah, this thing is huge. So literally Act 3, but before we get into the primary plot of Act 3, we get the prologue, which Matthew's finally out of bed. And again, if you don't remember him, he was the kind of brattish mouse we were introduced back to Act 1 where his, was it grandfather?
Yeah.
Was telling him a story, who is he's a monk of the Redwall Abbey. And telling him the story you play. So, and he is in bed. He is being cared for by a mole sister who is awesome. So, because, moles are awesome. And in Act 3, he is not only out of bed, he is waiting for this third act of the play that is literally telling the same story we're about to hear.
Oh, I couldn't remember why this was happening. I was like, when did the play happen? Okay.
Because it's winter and they're bored.
Yes.
I mean, when there's literally nothing else to do besides eat, sleep, and sing, I would imagine a play helps break up the monotony.
Indeed.
Sounds like a good lifestyle, though.
Yes.
Needs more riddles, though.
Hold that thought, because there are riddles later to come. And I was all about that.
They were actually pretty awesome. Spoilers.
Yeah, they were. But that's not what we're here yet. We're still talking about this prologue where Matthew's up and about, and we don't only see his grandfather, we see Matthew's unnamed mother, who kind of confirms what we heard in Act 2, that, this kid's had bad enough, being sick is never fun for anybody. But it was kind of indicated to us kind of secondhandly in Act 2 that mom and dad of this kid are not in a good position right now.
There is familial drama.
We rarely see Woodlander couples have marital problems in this franchise, with some very few exceptions. And about the only ones I can think of offhand is the animated version of Matthias and Cornflower kind of were sniping at each other at the beginning of the Manamato season.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give them grace because if one thing the animated series did, it actually set their relationship up more than the original book did. So there's that. And then the other one is Tagarong, aka Denya's parents, who literally I hate to say it, but the mom had a point where he was literally just born. You can wait to take him to an active stream in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
But Dad was like, no, we're doing this my way. Like, dude.
Tradition.
Yeah. So, but that was so minor, but that's all we really saw of their relationship before Dad got shot in the chest with an arrow. So yeah, the fact that we have a relationship on the rocks is unique. So, nice, Soma. I mean, if you want to go to the vermin side, there are a couple of vermin couples we can draw from. And the obvious one is the hate relationship of Ergonagru and his wife.
Mm-hmm. And the very unfortunate Swart and Bluefin.
Oof. And there's a few scattered others. But, yeah. So, that's nice. But anyway, Matthew is telling the other kids in the audience, he's communicating with one kid. It's like, oh, yeah, this play's going to be good. And they have to bring another kid up to speed.
Mm-hmm. I will say, though, the fact that Matthew is still kind of sick and he's coughing all over everybody.
I thought about that.
The events of the pandemic, it left me kind of squinting my eyes, just like, you are a plague on legs. Go back to bed.
I mean, you can tell Matthew is hitting that post-infection rebound. You're not at 100%, but you're feeling so much better.
Oh, absolutely. But at the same time, it's just like, working in a library, that kind of croupy cough, I don't care how much better you feel, is going to make me feel a little on edge.
I will send you a cattle prod for Christmas, Matthias.
Thank you.
Back. But, yes, because the third kid, their question, he is starting to cough and clearly has something wrong with his voice, too. Yeah, he's got the cold. And just to add to Matthias's point, they mentioned dry ditch fever in this third act.
Mm-hmm.
Not part
I
of the
know
prologue.
we joked about that over the course of the pandemic, but seriously.
Not in the prologue, but it's part of the main story, but still. Oh. But yes. So the play begins after a recap from the kids, which covers pretty much everything that we did already with Acts 1 and 2. That, Scum Snout really needs to, let's get him some mouthwash for Christmas.
I really liked this backstory being given by the kids, because the actors, I think they might have actually used some child voice actors for at least one or two of them, because, I don't know, there was like this really great energy to it and this vividness in their narration of the events. And it's just like, this took me right back to when I was like 11 or 12 and listening to some of the other kids I knew, like, talking about thus and such thing that happens. And it was just like, you don't just write that. There has to be a genuineness in that performance, and they captured that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The voice acting's great.
Yeah. No notes on the voice actors. Really good. In their retelling, they mentioned that Cheese Thief is after the Tanagram, the blue key. I guess you should say yellow key, shouldn't I? Because that'd be more accurate. And then Scum Snout, for the second time in this game, is flung from a high place to his presumed death. Holding up a little sign that says "Yipe."
And then you get that slide whistle sound effect, followed by the little puff of dust.
I'm sure he's dead and we'll never see him again.
While wear it. Super genius.
Okay. So, beginning the plot proper, literally our story begins with knocking on the door of the Stoat family inside the ship. And before we get to that, it's kind of just like, I'm sitting here remembering back in the original book, one of Clooney's first things he did when he took up residence at St. Ninian's was to send out his troops to round up other local vermin communities who were genuinely neutral and draft them into the army.
Yeah, because, I mean, there was that line when Constance and Matthias were like, yeah, it's Clooney the Scourge, and it's like, imagine that, Clooney the Scourge. Imagine giving a rat a bad name. And it's like, we forget that back in the first book, there was actually this kind of, I don't want to say live and let live, but there was a more amicable relationship with vermin.
Mm-hmm. Vermin species. So, and moreover, we're told Sayla and Chickenhound come from a tribe of nearby foxes. We never see that tribe, but they're not more than a few days journey away. So it tracks. I'm saying this again, good on Soma here, because this tracks to have a community that is neutral, that has nothing to do with Clooney's army, isn't raiding. They're just living their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So at first they're very distrustful, but the protagonist says, who sent them again? Was it Robin?
Yeah.
Robin sent me. Like, all right, bring them on in. Okay, let's see what we got here. And why do these look like bite marks? Oh, because they are.
Holy scum stout, Batman.
So we're
you said Robin, and I couldn't help myself.
No, I appreciate that. We have a trio of Stoats. We have a dad named Valo, correct?
Valo?
Yes.
Yep. And we have a older and younger sibling. Bolo is the older brother. And who's the sister?
Vila.
Thank you. Vila. And Dad's not thrilled about, this happening, but he's not going to turn anyone away. The brother is a bit of a jerk from the start.
Just a bit.
And Vila's just like, he's completely warm and welcoming, and I love her. She's a great character.
It gives me pause because on the one hand, she is an amazing bright ball of sunshine that is absolutely necessary for this story. On the other hand, I am afraid for her life. Please do everything you can to protect her.
Okay. So we're told that the protagonist has to go out around this pretty big ship complex, honestly, and go get it. It's one fetch quest after another.
Yeah. So did anyone notice that the way the sick one is lying in the bed just looks a little hilarious?
Yeah. It's not a good angle for your neck. It's really not.
And like there's this weird knee thing going on.
Listeners, for context, it's like your attended spouse lays down like horizontal as you'd expect, but their head is propped up almost too far.
Yeah. And they're like bridging a little bit.
It would almost be funnier if she was just T-posed.
Yes. That would be great.
Oh, and for listeners, we watched videos that had Liam as the primary character, so if I slip and do genders, that's why. But I'm trying to play this neutral. So, Val starts trading. He has to do fetch quests. And one of the things is he first sends off his son to go get a thing, and his son is taking too long, so he sends you to talk to the son. And the video I watched also had the player character go through like every corner and pick up all the secrets they could
Mhm.
first before doing the fetch quests. So, and I must have missed this in Act 2, or maybe this is unique to Act 3, but he's picking up sections of Gingivir's memoirs.
Mm-hmm. I saw the same thing in the one I watched.
Yeah. Question: why are Gingivian memoirs here and not at the barn, and why are they divided into parts?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also, there are two sections in what we cover here today where the player character can stop and pick up the collectible jars of jam.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hold on a minute. I understand wanting to unify the collectibles you have between games. Fine. This is not your home.
Thank you.
This is not, some random log out in the middle of Mossflower Woods that's been like, oh, there's a crate inside and it has jam. This is somebody's larder.
And while they're certainly showing you hospitality, that's a little far.
Yes. Even though they're like, please, make yourself at home.
You eat tons of jam at home? Hmm.
I mean, you don't?
Well, I do, but that's beside the point.
Oh, this day and age, I prefer. I got a pressure cooker like 2 Christmases ago, and that, yeah.
Oh, it changed my life.
Yeah, I make my own apple butter now.
Okay, I'm a tad jelly.
Ha!
Oh.
But getting back to this, so yes, so you get what is it first? It's a herb that you have, and this is using the scent mechanic the whole time.
Yes, I don't remember having that ability in this nuanced way before.
Which is fine. I like that they're using what they've established.
Well, that's what I mean. Is I think they this game took it up a notch with its development.
Yep, and he first gets you. The Velo tells you, oh, your intended the wound here is going black with rot, but it's not hit the blood yet. And I'm like, oh my god.
I mean,
see a dentist.
It's just about as bad as any description you've seen come up in a Redwall novel. That kind of, you think about it, you consider it for a moment, and then you go, ugh.
That's not good.
No, it is not.
So, yeah, see a dentist comes now. Good God. And, I'm glad they're trying to treat them. So first get you one herb. And then Val tells you, go get some valerian, which another plant. It'll help you sleep. Oh, it's on my nightstand. I'm like, you've been sampling your own product, haven't you?
Well, I mean, we're going to find out some bits about his backstory that make me think, no, he actually needs the sleep.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a guy who has a bottle of melatonin in the other room that when I have an uncommon night where my brain won't shut down, you better believe I'm popping that. But still, yeah, you've been sampling this, haven't you? So this section does feel like a quick reminder tutorial. It's not explicitly, this is a tutorial level, but it's like, hey, remember how you can do this and this and this? So your third ingredient, by the way, you have to get from the brother directly, and he is, for a PG podcast, I have to keep this, what it is, but he's a jerk.
Recalcitrant.
Yes. He basically doesn't want to help you at all. He doesn't want to help you at all. And to the point that the player character is intended to basically straight up accuse him of deliberately being unhelpful.
Yeah.
If I may, he is that stereotypical 90s middle school aged bully that, the 5th or 6th grade aged characters are like, yeah, I'm going off on adventure, and oh no, it's the bully, and it's like the 7th or 8th grader who's about 6'30", and
Yeah, he's
they've got
Nelson
like
from
a
The Simpsons. I get it. So
yeah, just the worst.
he's just missing the laugh. So, but yes, we kind of gathered, at least the video I'm watching, because the character in question did do like dialogue options. Mama still isn't anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
We don't know what from yet. That she's just gone. Now, thankfully, we kind of find this out where she is later. This isn't literally like a Klitsch and Farrago scenario where Mrs. Farrago is just not even there.
Mrs. not appearing in this video game.
Yeah. At one point, once you've got all the herbs necessary and, your Val knocks your intended out like it's a Sister May special, the player character hands over the tentagram or the yellow key to Valo, who's just like, dude, what? He knows what it is. We don't get any extra information out of him, but he knows what this is and how serious it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting. Oh, and by the way, before, at least in the Sophia, Liam is the player character and Sophia is the NPC version. Before Sophia knocks out, she mentioned something about a cart and horses. Huh. What's a horse?
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what a horse is. Why would I know what a horse is?
I don't know either.
You ask me, and I will say nay.
That was good. It was well timed. Groaner,
Yes.
but it's yeah.
I know it's painful, which is why I said it.
No,
You're welcome.
No. I'm gonna continue on. So at one point, there is after you get all the fetch quests, but before you actually get it to the dinner section, because the sister is making food, you can go around and basically talk to all parties involved. And you go back to the brother, and this is where we find out, and this is the big discussion I wanted to have today, that an ancestor of Valo took an oath to not follow the, quote, vermin way, end quote. Mm-hmm. But apparently this makes them a pariah to all parties, not just other vermin for being we'll save their word, how they bring this up for later. But apparently the local woodlanders cultures are instantly distrustful of the Stoat family, despite the fact that they are literally in urgent care in the middle of the woods.
They're also weirdos, apparently, so maybe that outweighs it.
Mm-hmm.
And Vila, his sister, wants to go to Redwall, learn healing from them, and even be put on staff, which is admirable, but her brother does not think that she'll ever be let in.
You'll never get into med school.
It's all politics, man.
Yeah, that's scary.
So, and the player character is given the opportunity to either agree with the brother or not. And this is where I wanted to have this discussion. Again, some of the games, bravo for having a neutral party here. I love the fact that you did. Because, again, we were talking about this before off air, but one of the things, as much as I love these series, and yes, this is me soapboxing, one of the most frustrating things of having done nearly every book in this series, the existing PBS animated series, and now these games, is that I wish there were more blankets. I wish there were more, or this Stoat family, people who either elect not to follow the raiding way and live a private life, or people who were part of the vermin raiding and corsairs and whatnot and choose to walk away from it because they realize, hey, life could be better if I don't do this. Like, it is one of the most frustrating things to me that Brian teases this with individual characters, but other than that, it's pretty set in stone. And you can go back to are pretty detailed discussions on both Vale and Tagarung alike. And I'm just sitting here like, especially when we see Vila, who's just bubbling and really wants a chance to go to Redwall. And good on her dad for not shutting her down. Like, he's not, he may have his own opinions, but he's keeping them to himself, and he's letting his daughter build her confidence this way.
Mm-hmm.
Good dad. But it kind of breaks my heart to know that we don't get this part of the story nearly enough.
No, yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. It's one of those moments where I talk about this briefly in my notes. I wrote down Mila's optimism at joining Redwall as a healer is setting off major alarm bells in my head. Either she's not making out of this game alive, or Redwall is going to look awful for turning down such an earnest stoat. Either way, it's bad. Because
there's a third option. She doesn't end up anywhere near Redwall.
I suppose, but the reason I'm just so hesitant to even consider that as an option is she is about as gung-ho for I am going to do this. I won't let anything get in my way because I believe that this is going to work out. We have all seen enough, movies, TV shows, basically any kind of media you can think of, where there's a character like this and they don't get the thing they wanted in some way, shape, or form. They are either let down or they are about to achieve it and then it gets ripped out from underneath them.
Yeah. And or we've been through that in our own lives at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Where what we believed a scenario was generally going to be ends up not being what we thought. And it really breaks your heart.
Right.
So this is one of those things where, because we know what happens next in the story, and that these characters were specifically made up, they don't appear in book 1.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, nothing. Yeah, nothing happens, and it's not like it will happen between books, because Redwall goes right into Matameo, which goes right into Pearls, and Pearls goes into Long Patrol. Long Patrol goes into Marlfox, which goes into Tagarung. They all chain together. She never appears, is never mentioned. Obviously, she doesn't make it, which makes this whole yes, this is my dream, all the more soul crushing for longtime fans who are thinking about it and but it literally cannot happen without splitting the timelines.
So what this reminds me of is Star Wars Rogue One. For the best of reasons. This honestly could have a more positive ending. We don't know where this character's going to go yet. Fair enough. But and don't get me wrong, I love Rogue One. That was the best movie since Empire. Come at me, nerds. But at some point watching that movie, because it literally branches into A New Hope, and none of these characters we're watching end up in New Hope, and you realize at some point you're going to watch these characters die. And that breaks your heart. Even though it ultimately it's a phenomenal movie, a great ending, and these, they do kind of prepare you for it, because we're told literally we're going to keep trying, we'll keep taking chances until our luck runs out. So, yeah, this is what this reminds me of. There's a reason that prequels as a thing are limited in what they can do, because the audience already knows where the characters are going to go. So it's basically, especially, you basically reach a point where you're the threat of a main character dying in a prequel is kind of muted because that character has to survive to the original movie.
Mm-hmm. And conversely, the character made up for the prequel that doesn't appear in the actual item itself, well, they're either not going to make it or they don't have a reason to show up in the story. Either way, odds are very low for them getting any kind of a happy ending.
And you know what the thing is? I could see Brian loving a character like this.
Right? Oh, absolutely. This is, I might be going out on a limb here. This is basically the opposite of Sella in Chicken Hound. We have a character who has ability, and instead of using it to basically be a snake oil salesman and a double crosser to benefit oneself, we have a character who actually has skill, not only has a passion for it, but has a mind to learn and grow this field. We can get into this in a little bit. And has a genuine love for basically all life. And it wants to see everybody happy.
And here's the thing. Either she's not aware of the story, or more likely she knows it, because the player character and Bolo discuss Vale at one point. Mm-hmm. His name is brought up, and we see a very truncated, clearly like things are omitted version of his story. Because
here's Bolo's perspective on it, and then the player character is like, yeah, I don't think it happened quite like that, without going into any more details, but we, the readers, know how it went.
Now, Bolo basically said, oh, Redwall's tried this with vermin species before with Vale, and look how well that went. They once they got tired of him, they tossed him out in the snow on his own. I'm like, okay, none of that is technically wrong, but you're missing the point where he tried to murder someone.
Yeah, the whole, here's somebody that, they had prejudice against Vale, but at the same time, Vale played into that exact same prejudice, and it's like, well, if you're going to see me like that, I might as well be it. And it's like, so you wanted to be tossed out on your tail? It's a very complicated and difficult thing to deal with, but that's my immediate impression of like, and we could probably go into like a big 45-minute discussion sidetrack on just Outcast again, but
well, yeah.
I think our discussion on that was actually a lot shorter compared to what we did with Tagaron, but Tagaron gave us more material to work with.
I will say a lot of our Outcast discussion was truncated by the fact that it was basically trying to glue together two different storylines that didn't really go together, along with a whole host of other issues that we absolutely roasted.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and not the least of which was Bryony's terrible parenting. But back to the game here. You get Bolo to open up, by the way, by literally giving him a candied chestnut, because that fixes everything.
Well.
I mean, at least it wasn't, a can of Pepsi.
Oh.
So the other thing that is interesting, because as a series lore reference, is Dry Age Fever was only if maybe we're not given a definitive number of how many seasons ago this was, but this was a thing not terribly long ago, apparently. Another round.
It's not clear if this is the same Dry Age Fever from Salamandastron or if this is a different one. I'm going to assume it's different.
I googled the person they mentioned, this squirrel, Avon, and he apparently this is from the app version, Lost Legends Redwall app.
Yeah, I have that. I keep needing to play it, but then when I think about playing it, it's like, no, I should wait and play it with everybody else when we cover it for the podcast. So,
apparently that's a reference to that game. which of course we'll have to do, but so good to know, especially they're keeping their own internal lore good. Good for them. So yeah, Dry Dish Fever is still, and I guess I don't know if there's a Wild King McPherson still around, but there is a conversation with Dad before dinner, and the video I watched of that character, he does mention what happens to his wife, and she's dead. It's not ambiguous. You can clearly tell he's not entirely comfortable still talking about it because it's his wife, but she apparently died of some sort of heart issue that even he couldn't heal.
The video I watched, all three siblings talked about it, and it was particularly difficult for Bolo. You could tell that he is worked up about it, that he hasn't entirely dealt with his grief, and that there is an aspect of him that maybe doesn't blame his father and sister for it, but kind of blames his mother for leaving, even though that doesn't exactly make rational sense. You can tell he's not rational about it.
And Valo himself, he's clearly still grieving, but he is. It's not the. He's reached the point he's functional, and can deal with the obvious questions from visitors.
Yeah, and there also, I found not only that to help kind of, I use the word loosely, but humanizes Bolo, but also in talking about his sister's desire to go to Redwall, and he's like, yeah, that's not going to work out. I found that also made him relatable. He references it later when they sit down to eat, and he's basically like, well, what's the point in going, if you're only going to fail? Better to just not do that. And it's like, it's not healthy, but it's also very relatable. That's a very human thing that I think most of us have experienced at one point or another. It's like, why go try doing something if I have absolutely no expectation that it's going to work whatsoever? I want to protect myself from the heartache.
I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the philosophical conundrum of life in general, right?
I mean, I could speak as from an adult point of view. Like, when you get out of a relationship, there is a period of where, and especially in my case, like, I had family members on my back to get right back out there, and I'm just like, no. No, it's not that I thought I could fail at a relationship again. It's just more like, I need my time. And if I go out now, I'm not going to be any good.
I will say, if you're done.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I will say that I do appreciate Mila's inquisitive mind, but it also kind of disturbs me a little bit. When she talks about her mother, she indicates she wants to do like an autopsy on her mother's body, like to look at her heart to see if she can figure out what happened. And
yeah, honey, your mom's kind of decomposing at this point.
Yeah, I can't decide whether that's incredibly forward thinking and rational as a way to be like, well, if I could have, that could help other people from not having to do that in the future, or if it's an emotionally charged way to try and work through her own grief in a potentially unhealthy manner.
Both, I would say.
Yeah.
So we finally get to supper when the player character tells, okay, we're ready for supper. And they sit down to this long table, and the first thing Valo basically tells the player character straight up, like, look, everything I did today was to arrest the infection. I can hold it at bay, but you want yours intended to survive, you need to take him to Redwall. So,
well, yeah.
And we're off to Redwall. It's almost like we're in a franchise with that name.
Who'd have thunk?
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad we have the video games we have. Man, I would have loved to see Salamandastron. And I'm not even throwing shade here at someone for not doing it. Like, you have only so much resources. But yeah. Wish we could have seen the Abbey. Or not the Abbey, the mountain. Because again, folks, before we start recording tonight, I checked if there had been any news on the Netflix series. There isn't. So get that out of the way.
And now we're sad.
But one of the things I had hoped to see there was, like, because we never got in the original PBS trio, was if we got a Selma Industron look. But
yeah, that would have been great.
So anyway, but yes, we must venture to Redwall. And Val basically says, yeah, I know a shortcut that'll get you there quicker. But you do have time, but you cannot waste it with your fiance being in the condition they are. That's fair. That's fair. And the next section, like, is straight, like, pure Redwall.
Oh, the most Redwall. The Redwalliest of Redwall.
Like, of any portion of this game, these 3 set of games so far, this is the most Redwall, and that's saying something. So we're introduced with this. Our siblings here start basically throwing riddles at each other, and it's there's some sibling rivalry, but this is a game for them.
And now it's a game for you.
Yep.
And what I love is, if you stop and think about it, this is basically the Redwall version of a rap battle.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Epic rap battles of Mossflower.
No.
But yeah, apparently this is a thing. They're at the dinner table. I guess dad and mom both encouraged it to sharpen their kids' wits. But you literally can't just ask someone to pass the candy chestnuts. You have to get them to do it through a riddle. And while I approve of the parenting style, I can imagine someone's going to have a bad day and they just don't want to even deal with that.
Yeah.
So the riddles do turn to you to answer, and this is very much a quick time event where they read the riddle once, and you're given 4 possible options of an answer. And thankfully the game does with a timer counting down. And from what I could see, thankfully they don't put the hearts in like they do the other QuickTime sections. Essentially, you can listen to the riddle as much as you want. If time runs out, it repeats.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was like, pick one.
At least that was my reading of the gameplay.
Okay.
I could be wrong. And yeah, I think you're treated to it was 3 riddles in the video I watched.
Yeah.
And I love this section because while there was certainly, if I was playing this through, I'd be probably a little like, oh god, with the timer counting down, like, would not help my thought process.
That's what I was, yeah.
It again, this feels pure Redwall, and I love it. Unfortunately, the plot has to rear its head. So instead of knocking at the door, rats basically start slamming. They're breaking the door down, and Val basically tells all the mice in residence, it's not just you and your fiance, it's also Fraby and the mole you traveled with. To hide. He will get rid of them. And this is where I wanted to bring up, apparently, the other side of this equation, where Bolo is worried that his sister's not going to be accepted at Redwall because she's a Stoat. Fine. And we're told other Woodlanders instantly distrust this family for being Stoats, despite the fact that they provided pretty reasonable service to the local woods. The vermin, the actual pirate corsair vermin that are apparently tracking the main characters, call them sympathizers.
I know, right?
Okay.
That feels kind of World War II.
Just a little.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a neutral party, number one. And number two, Bolos straight up admits earlier that I deliberately skipped to this section, that other vermin who do the raiding life view them as sympathizers, is basically not worth their time, or below them for not engaging in the raiding life.
Basically, you're different, therefore you're bad.
Yeah, if you're not with us, you're against us.
Is pretty much this. And here's the thing: the tradition of hospitality, that's kind of an old law out there that even Salamandastron respects. Not very well. Again, the one I'm making reference to is the book Salamandastron, where Urstripe lets Klitsch and his minion in the I don't remember his name at this point, in for the night, and gives them food and then provisions for the next day, and sends them on their way. So the fact that the vermin are, I'm just wondering how this game would have gone had Val pointed out, yes, I took in the mice, they're my guests, do you want to fight about it? And seeing how that would have shaken out.
I think that would have been interesting, but at the same time, this is literally a detachment of Clooney's band that are looking for these mice specifically, so I don't think that would have flown.
Point. I'm just wondering why these rats are even bother tracking it for it, unless it's for the yellow key. Which, based on what we've seen so far, probably is. I mean, Cheese Thief is mentioned looking for the Tanagram in the prologue. So.
Yeah, he breaks in, not unlike, here's Cheese Thief.
We don't actually see him, it's just his minions. So
yeah.
No, he's there.
No, he's there. Yeah, he's like wandering.
Oh, is he?
He's wearing his coat of many colors.
He is like the third one to walk in the cutscene.
Oh, I missed
and he does the talking.
Okay. So clearly they don't murder Valo for this, because right?
No.
Right. But and the base game basically goes into another Arkham Asylum section where you're in the rafters using your slingshot and other things to distract or frankly murder, but it's just hand waved away as knocking out vermin with dropping barrels on their heads.
Doing their best Home Alone impression.
Yeah, this is Home Alone, is another way to put this.
I will say the music is stellar. It's got a touch of pirate with a bit of dramatic danger thrown in. It's really good.
And all the skills you picked up in the last two acts, you're expected to put into practice here. With not a lot of
totally.
As much as I enjoyed this section, and I do, keep this in mind for what comes later, but Valo has left a lot of burning, unattended candles in his rafters.
I know, right?
Much less the chandelier itself. So, yeah, not exactly the best fire safety there, Valo.
I believe this is a ship made of wood.
You could call it a wood ship.
Oh! I didn't
make
do that on
another
purpose,
reference to
and now I'm upset.
Make another literary reference, wood and hay can burn.
Yep.
So, but yes, this is, again, the main character is just knocking vermin out by shooting things or doing other things, and I'm pretty sure you murdered a few of them with the amount of weight you dropped right on their head. But they're just knocked out, and then one of their compatriots comes in to laugh.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the first time, sure, you might, like, laugh at someone else's misfortune, but at the second or third time, like, you still haven't figured this out, that this is a serious problem that is attracting your troop, and, maybe you should be a little more on guard?
I like the weasels from Roger Rabbit.
Yes,
how does that quote go? Well, once is an accident, twice is coincidence, three times is enemy action.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
So, yeah. And again, I really love this section. More props to it. We're also, you also meet up with Fraby, who requires your help. Because we're going to have to save them every time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where you basically distract rats or drop things on them, because apparently he can outrun any rat. Okay. Sure. Sure, okay. Yeah, you can. And I'm not doubting it, okay? But one thing I still love about this video game, much like the animated series did, is that it establishes scale.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if anything, I don't know if we talked about this in the previous 2 episodes, but there is definite scale. And if anything, it seems like there is a greater disparity in this version than, say, the PBS animated series. Like, mice are small.
Yeah.
They're still small. They're still big enough to present a credible threat with weapons in their hands. But, yeah, rats are probably twice their size, which tracks to actual real mice and rats. Much less, stoats are bigger than that. And you see several of them quite up close in this section. So I would have loved to seen their Matthias and Clooney, but we're not going to get that chance. So you save Fraby, you get your party out of the ship house, and there's a kind of a darkly comedic line that, the kind of joke that, like, the Joker tells, you feel bad for but you feel bad for laughing at, where you're still partially drugged and suffering fiancé turns and said, "Is the house supposed to be glowing?" And see my earlier point about Valo and his candles being left unattended.
Yeah, we don't really know what caused this, do we?
No, the obvious presumption is that the vermin burnt the house down.
True, but you make a good point.
So, the player character also laments that they left the tanagram with Valo, and Fraby's like, "No, I have it right here." Okay. Something told me to go find it. You can say it was Martin. You can say it was Martin.
When in doubt.
Martin did it.
Yeah.
God, that's like Xena, the warrior princess. When in doubt, a wizard did it.
Isn't that a trope on TV tropes?
It is.
Sure it is.
I thought it sounded familiar.
It actually comes from a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. But Lucy Lawless, who played Xenia, is at a fan con, and literally all fans are doing are asking very intricate details about that she didn't write the episodes and she wouldn't care about, and she's literally like, "A wizard did it, a wizard did it, a wizard did it." So but yeah, we're also told that at least, is it Fraby or the mole? Someone says to the player character, "Hey, I noticed the Stoat siblings got out before the fire started to spread." So they're somewhere local.
I think I missed that part, but
yeah,
good.
Pretty sure it's the mole actually who says, "Yeah, I noticed the 2 Stoat siblings got out of the house before the fire started to really spread." Now, what happened to Valo? I don't know, because this is actually our stopping point in the plot.
I will say, at the very end, Cheese Thief is like really, really mad at losing stuff, and his anger makes me very happy. It also helps knowing what's going to happen to him in book 1, so yay.
Yep. Now, we don't know, and I'm on the Redwall wiki to see if we have any indication of what happens to him, and we don't. So who knows? But that's the end of where we're stopping on plot on part 3. So far, I still love this game. And if I can get it to solidly work on my computer, I'd be great. If my
details,
Again, my only complaint is more just the technical on my end, because reliably getting to work, and I still don't know why, has been a chore. But and I've mentioned this in the past. While I appreciate the more not, in air quotes here, non-violent route they went with having you deal with vermin, like some part of me wanted like hack and slash.
I know, right? Well, that's also way harder to make.
It is. I mean, I'm not talking like full on God of War, but I still appreciate not only the world building that Soma has done here, but genuinely the fun moments, like all back to way in Act 1 when you got tasked for making dinner, which is straight, cooking is straight Redwall,
Right.
to this where we get the riddle thing is so much fun, much as all of Captain Snow in Act 2.
I like that.
Where you had to convince him not to eat you.
Right.
So I am definitely looking forward to where this final act goes.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
Yeah. The only thing I have to say on the whole matter is, so since the last time that we talked about this game, I got a Steam Deck. I haven't tried the games on there yet.
Ooh.
I want to. I have them installed.
You should report it back to us and how well that works.
I will, but it was one of those things where it's like, I didn't want to start playing Act 1 because I want to play through everything straight, and then encounter any issues like 10, 15, 20 minutes of the way in, and then feel bad about it, and then resent the series and come into talking about this stuff with just, well, it didn't work for me.
Sure.
So Soma Games, if you are listening, and I hope you are, can you please put compatibility into your anthology version of Lost Legends of Redwall the Scout to make sure it is Steam Deck compatible? I will love you forever. Thank you.
I mean, what he said.
So, yeah, right.
I'm kind of curious on how these games play, like on the consoles they've been released for. So, because I played on PC through Steam.
Yeah. Like a real person.
Oh, sir.
That's a spicy take.
I was a console gamer for much longer than I've been a PC gamer. So
well, welcome.
I've literally always been a PC gamer, and even I'm like, that's a little far, man.
Now, don't get me wrong, the only modern console I own is the Switch, because as I've gotten to I will turn 40 next year, I no longer want to spend, $500-$600 on a Sony or Microsoft console anymore.
No.
It's just too much to keep up with. Especially when, like most people, like I've only played about, let's be generous here, 60% of my Steam library.
Yeah.
Oh, my sweet summer child.
Curse Gabe and his sales. Curse them.
I mean, I'll agree to that, but I'll also say the same thing about Humble Bundle, about Fanatical, and, well, you get the idea.
I mean, I know we're wildly off topic, folks, but literally my friends and I make a joke of it when any of the seasonal Steam sales come about, we all play it we warn each other in creative ways.
Oh, totally.
My favorite is to do like the Star Trek Red Alert. So, that said, back to Redwall. So next, folks, if you listen to the episodes and they are slightly out of order, and that's entirely my fault. Long story short, I've been burning candle at every end for a few weeks here, months really. So I had promised after this episode, the After Dark comes out. That's still my intention. That is still my intention. And then I am gonna put out a call for stuff you want us to talk about, because there's a few things I know I want to touch on, but again, for those of you not familiar what our plan is here, well, I'll have like a 1 minute. You can find this episode on directly on Recorder on the Wall, because I'm not going to put it in our regular RSS feed. The AD episode is us going to be like taking down our filters and straight up going like full and critical adult of what we see in this franchise. And we are going to have so much fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
I have no doubt of that. So when that's over, I'm sure we'll try a part 2 of Act 3. And then maybe we get to Roku before the end of the year. I don't know.
I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Good. I'm not sure Blue's
I
your
wouldn't
color.
either.
We'll probably do it after the new year, honestly.
New year, end of series. Wow. Yes.
Oh.
Such a bright and joyful way to go into 2024.
Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, there's still wrap-up episodes and a bunch of other things, and we'll have to do a Fanfiction 7.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, and we never did a trivia episode this year.
Oh, we didn't.
Oh.
No, we didn't.
I think wasn't it Katie was supposed to plan it?
I believe it's Katie's turn, yes, but
Okay.
She might not be able to get to that. Maybe we could do that around the holidays.
That's a good idea. I'll approach her
Sure.
about it. She has personal reasons why we're not going to say on air, but she's going to be unavailable for like next week or two.
Yeah.
So
I have one last thing I want to close on before we finish the episode. I was thinking about this with the announcement of the Lost Legends of Redwall Scout anthology.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do Redwall, like take any other elements of Redwall and adapt it into any genre of video game, what would you want?
Ooh.
Oh, Badger Kratos.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be really cool. I had a couple of ideas. I was thinking we could do a long patrol like real-time strategy game, like Tactics.
Ooh, that'd be a good idea.
Rackety Tam, like a Metroidvania where you're doing like tree climbing and going through all sorts of stuff that way. A Marl Fox stealth game.
Yeah.
And Overcooked, where you're in the Abbey or Salmanderstron kitchens having to manage that.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. But there's also a competitive eating aspect to that game as well. So you get to play a hare at a feast.
I could almost see an Among Us where you're a bunch of mice trying to find the rat. Oh, hi, Klitsch.
Oh, that would be great. I'm trying to think what else would be fun. Ooh, Salamandastron base building game. So you get to build your own Salamandastron, and then you get attacked and have to defend it.
I could also see partial shipbuilding, partial shipbuilding and ship navigating, kind of like based on Sid Meier's Pirates, where
I love that
you're
game.
Luke the warrior chasing down his big bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's perfect. That is so right. From Triss, Peace Island, Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah.
I want to have a Redwall farming game. That would be amazing.
Yeah, my significant other definitely is into the farming set.
Mm-hmm.
I would say exploring Castle Cotier during the long patrol with TNZ.
Oh, like a dungeon crawler.
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good dungeon crawler. That's a good one.
That would be fantastic. Let's see. Can we think of anything that would be like good for a roguelike?
Gonf invading Castle Cotier.
Oh sure.
Ooh, yeah. So like a roguelike
for the stealth series. Yeah.
For a stealth game, yeah.
Mm.
Getting things ready for the winter, where you go out and you harvest everything, and then you have to do like Tetris puzzles to fit everything into the storehouse.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have like a text adventure game with the Gloomer game, and on mobile a choose your adventure game. But I mean, those are very basic. You can do almost anything with those formats.
I mean, even a basic capture the flag, like Team Fortress 2 style, where you have a Woodlander and a Vermin team, respectively.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to it doesn't have to be like guns and whatnot, but just back and forth.
I mean, you could do the same thing long patrol style, where it's like the raw recruits versus the officers.
And not just because Team Fortress 2 is one of my favorite games of the last 100 years.
I mean, you could always do a long patrol style third-person fighting game.
I mean, even just a basic fighter would work.
Yeah, totally.
As long as you could balance it against the Badgers, being overpowered. Like, this is where you're going to need a Wolverine. So
I was going to say, I'm not a fan, but I can appreciate the dedication people have for Souls-likes. I wonder if you could do a Redwall Souls-like.
I mean, that would have to be like, I don't know, early Martin going through his sad phase.
Sad phase Martin. Yeah,
sad phase
I can see it.
I still think the biggest thing I would want to see is an Overcooked, except you're in the Redwall kitchens.
SimCity, but for Noonvale.
Sure.
Oh, a Dibben hide and seek game at Redwall.
That would be like that would be a small indie like $10 title.
Yeah, almost like a one of those where it gets tacked on as a game mode for multiplayer for some other game, but then ends up pulling a Fortnite and becomes the main mode.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course we have to come up with some kind of comedy game. What about like 3 Divots and a Habit?
What, they're trying to sneak out and they're pretending to be an adult?
Yes.
Oh, and the final boss, the one to sneak past, has to be one of the Badger Moms.
Yes. Wow, King McPherson Flight Simulator.
That could be fun.
Oh, and of course the inevitable Professor Layton style puzzle game.
Oh, now you're just making me think of like an Ace Attorney, like over Vale's conviction.
Oh, objection. And Brianni is what's his name? Phoenix Wright.
There's a lot of good options here. It really is.
Oh, there's so much that could be done with this. Summer Games, again, if you're listening, please, if you make at least one of these, I will love you forever. Thank you.
Yes.
You can even have these ideas for free.
Yep.
Just, put my name in the credits or something.
Special thanks. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Special thanks to Recorder on the Wall for helping us find this game idea.
We get paid in exposure.
Oh, God.
Oh,
No. And that, dear viewers, before we actually say where you can find us, we're going to close on. I did check our reviews. We have another numerical review. We don't have any new text reviews. Did I already mention this?
I don't think so.
Yeah. But another 5 stars. So whoever did that, again, thank you. I wish there was a way I could see that, but anyway. Do that. So again, thank you. If you want us to read your name on air, leave us a text review. So, and we'll go from there. And as always, you can find us on recorderonthewall.com. We will listed on Google Play Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. We have an RS feed, and on Spotify. And we do have a Twitter, but I'm sorry, X.
But it's now no longer being updated, so now it's an XX.
Should I just post like a picture of a mouse with X's over his eyes? Is that what we need to do?
Probably.
Maybe.
Well, we do have a Twitter, folks. Honestly, there's a lot of things. I'm not going to my personal reasons here, but suffice to say, I'm not happy with the new leadership, and we'll leave it at that. And then when I can remember to, yes, Reddit's Argulalia and Redwall forums. Which I haven't been on in way too long. Is this still not letting me log in? I'm checking that. Yep, login error.
I can help you troubleshoot that.
Yeah, we can do that off air. So until next time, I'm Pete.
I'm Matthias.
I'm Braden.
And next time on Recorder on the Wall Z.
GT.
Abridged.